Senator.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I move for the committee to authorize the issuance of a subpoena for the National Archives for records from Judge Kavanaugh's service as staff secretary in the White House from 2003 to 2006. Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that only a subset of Judge Kavanaugh's White House counsel records, as I have pointed out, and none of his staff secretary records have been available. And that's why the committee has just 7% of the records. Some have tried to blame Democrats for their failure to obtain Judge Kavanaugh's full record. They claim our request for his staff secretary documents was too broad and would take too much time. They also say they were unwilling to use search terms to expedite that request. That is not true. On July 23rd, I sent a letter offering to work with the chairman's office to come up with search terms to prioritize the staff secretary's requests. That offer was refused. After that, all of the Democratic members of the committee sent a letter to the archives requesting Judge Kavanaugh's full record. Our request mirrored the bipartisan request for Elena Kagan's records. No more, no less. Because that request was not supported by you, Mr. Chairman, the archives refused to produce these documents. I have that letter of refusal. That was a disappointing blow against transparency and against our right as a minority and the public's right for information. There are two issues that the chairman has long championed, and it honestly makes me wonder, what in Judge Kavanaugh's records are Republicans hiding? Last week's hearing was further proof that we need this full record, as I've said. When questioned about his White House work and views, Judge Kavanaugh was evasive and misleading. Often, he was not able to recall exactly what he had worked on or what his specific role might have been. For instance, I asked the judge whether he worked on any issues related to reproductive health care or choice. Instead of asking, he said this, and I quote, "President Bush was a pro-life president, and so his policy was pro-life. And those who worked for him, therefore, had to assist him, of course, in pursuing those policies. Some of those things may have crossed my desk. I cannot remember the specifics," end quote. So we should be able to see this record for ourselves so that we understand exactly what he worked on and the positions that he took. And this is particularly true given Judge Kavanaugh's admission that his 3 years as staff secretary for President Bush were, quote, "the most interesting and in many ways the most instructive," end quote, to him as a judge. At this point, a subpoena for Judge Kavanaugh's staff secretary records, I strongly believe, is necessary and warranted. Providing advice and consent on a Supreme Court nominee is one of our most serious obligations. The stakes, as I've said, are extremely high. He will be in a pivotal seat on a closely divided court. I urge all my colleagues to support this subpoena.
Mr. Chairman, I second and ask for a vote.
Is that, you're calling for the question?
Second motion.
Okay.
I second it.
We'll vote, but I want to, the next motion is going to be on September 20th to have a vote on Kavanaugh at 1:45. Call the roll.
Well, could I ask?
Call.
Okay.
No, they called a question. We're going to go with the question.
Mr. Hatch.
No.
Mr. Graham.
No.
Mr. Cornyn.
No.
Mr. Lee.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No.
Mr. Sacks.
No.
Mr. Flake.
No.
Mr. Crapo.
No.
Mr. Tillis.
No.
Mr. Kennedy.
No.
Mrs. Finestein.
Aye.
Mr. Leahy.
Aye.
Mr. Durbin.
Aye.
Mr. Whitehouse.
Aye.
Ms. Klobuchar. Aye. Mr. Coons.
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Aye.
Ms. Corona.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Ms. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Chairman, the votes are 10 yeas, 11
Okay,
nays.
motion defeated. With that vote, I now move to report from the committee the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court after debate on September the 20th at 1:45 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you're saying by setting a time for that, you're going to break with the tradition of this committee, tradition, I might say rules also, certainly the tradition in the 40-some-odd years I've been here, to allow all members the amount of time they need to debate. And what you're saying by setting a time certain, you could arrange it very easily that only one person would be allowed to even debate it up to that time. That, I would say, has never been done in, certainly over the last 40 years under either Republican or Democratic.
It was done in 2003 by Chairman Hatch.
That's when he broke the rules on debate, and everybody realized he'd broken the rules. The fact is that you're saying you're going to set a time, and just to use, you may not intend to do this, but you could get the floor when we came in, and you could talk right up to the time of that, and nobody, Republican or Democrat, would be allowed a chance to even speak. Wouldn't it make a lot more sense to set this thing, allow debate, and then if you feel it's going too long, go ahead and break the rules the way Senator Hatch did, but at least allow everybody a chance to speak. Right now, you're setting up a procedure which could easily block members of this committee from being able to speak. Now, so much has been hidden about Judge Kavanaugh already. His records have been hidden, things he's done, the statements he made about the stolen property by the Republican staff member Manny Miranda. So much of that has been hidden. We ought to at least show the American people that in the United States Senate, all voices can be heard. Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Chairman,
By the way, I want to make clear, Senator Hatch didn't break the rules. He set a precedent. Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a point of order about your motion. Rule 4 of the committee reads as follows. If there is objection to bring the matter to a vote without further debate, a roll call of the committee shall be taken and debate shall be terminated if the motion to bring the matter to a vote without further debate passes with 11 votes in the affirmative, one of which must be cast by the minority. You are calling for us to end debate on the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh.
Based on the precedent set by Chairman
Well,
Hatch.
the point I'm making is the rules of the committee directly controvert your motion. You need the vote of one member of the 11 votes and one member of the minority to stop debate on any matter, let alone a nomination for the Supreme Court.
Yeah. The answer to your question is no, we don't, and we've checked with the Senate parliamentarian.
Mr. Chairman.
Are you ready to